Welcome back to Dinar Info News, your #1 source for everything related to the Iraqi Dinar, the Vietnamese Dong, and global currency developments. Whether you're an experienced currency watcher or just beginning your journey into the world of foreign exchange, this channel is designed to provide you with the most accurate, up-to-date information on currency trends, revaluation, speculation, economic updates, and live rate checking tutorials. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update, especially in 2025, a year many of us believe will be crucial for currency watchers and investors alike. Today, we're diving deep into something many of you have been asking for: how to check live rates of the IQD and VND, and how to stay ahead of any major shifts that might affect your currency portfolio. First, let's get into the mindset of why live rate checking is so important. In 2025, we are in a year where geopolitical and economic changes are accelerating, with global central banks adjusting interest rates, oil markets fluctuating, and political reforms taking place in countries like Iraq and Vietnam. Staying updated in real time isn't just helpful, it's essential. Whether you're holding a significant amount of Iraqi Dinar or Vietnamese Dong, or just exploring them as part of a diversified portfolio, knowing how to interpret live exchange rates gives you an edge. It allows you to make informed decisions rather than reactive ones. So let's start by understanding the basics of what a currency rate is. A currency rate, or exchange rate, is essentially the value of one country's currency in terms of another. When you hear someone say, the IQD is trading at 1,322 the USD, that means $1 equals 1,320 Iraqi Dinar. These rates can fluctuate minute by minute due to supply and demand in the foreign exchange markets. Major contributors to rate fluctuations include inflation data, political stability, oil prices, trade balances, and central bank policies. With Iraq being a significant oil producer and Vietnam being a rapidly growing manufacturing hub, both countries have factors that make their currencies sensitive to global events. Now, when it comes to checking live exchange rates, you have a few options. The most reliable sources are usually currency tracking websites, forex platforms, bank websites, and specialized apps. For our purposes, I recommend you bookmark a few trusted sites: xe.com, OANDA.com, investing.com, Xrates, and your local bank's currency page. Each of these platforms offers real-time data, though some may have delays of a few minutes depending on the source. If you want second-by-second updates, forex trading platforms like MetaTrader or Thinkorswim are excellent choices, although they are geared more toward traders than everyday currency holders. Let me walk you through a live demonstration, though you'll need to follow along on your own device. First, open a browser and go to xe.com. Once the page loads, type IQD in the currency field and USD in the other. You'll immediately get the current rate. Right now, as I'm recording this video in August 2025, you might see something like $1 equals 1,295 IQD. But don't just look at that number. Look below the rate where you can see a small chart showing the last 24 hours. This will give you an idea of how volatile or stable the rate has been today. You can even adjust the chart to show the past week or month, which helps identify trends. A gradual strengthening of the dinar over several weeks might indicate internal economic stability or favorable news, while a sudden drop could be due to political unrest or currency manipulation. Now let's check the Vietnamese Dong. Repeat the same process, type VND and USD into the fields, and you'll get the current rate. At the time of this video, you might see something like $1 equals 23,800 VND. Again, make sure you scroll down and observe the historical chart. Z even provides commentary at times, pointing out significant events that have affected the rate. You can also set rate alerts by creating a free account. That way, if the Dong ever strengthens to, say, 22,000 per dollar, you'll be instantly notified by email or app notification. This is incredibly useful if you're holding onto a position and waiting for a better exchange point. While websites are great for checking rates, mobile apps give you even more flexibility. The XE app and the OANDA app are both available for Android and iOS, and I highly recommend downloading at least one. Once installed, you can track multiple currencies at once, set alerts, and even view news headlines related to currency movements. Just imagine you're on your way to work and suddenly your phone buzzes. It's an alert from the app that the IQD has spiked 2% within an hour. That's the kind of real-time edge that helps you make decisions faster than relying on Facebook groups or delayed news reports. Another crucial aspect of live rate checking is knowing the difference between market rates and bank or dealer rates. The rates you see on XE and OANDA are what we call mid-market rates. That means they're the average of the buying and selling rates on the open forex market. However, when you go to a bank or dealer to exchange currency, they will always include a spread, a small percentage they keep as profit. So if XE shows the dinar at 1,295 per dollar, your dealer might offer you only 1,250 or even less. This spread can vary widely depending on your location, the amount you're exchanging, and the policies of the dealer or bank. Now, let's talk a little bit about how to evaluate the credibility of exchange sources. Many of you ask, is this online dealer safe? Or should I trust this rate I saw on Telegram or Facebook? Here's a rule of thumb. If the rate sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Only trust dealers that are registered, regulated, and preferably have physical office locations. Look for reviews on forums like Dinar or Reddit, and avoid any site that promises overnight reevaluations or secret rates. Scammers often prey on the hopes of currency investors, especially those who are new to this world. Now that we've covered where and how to check rates, let's discuss how to interpret what those rates mean for your long-term plans. A rising IQD or VND rate generally signals increasing confidence in the country's economy. For example, if Iraq begins attracting more foreign investors, reduces corruption, or passes new legislation that stabilizes its currency, we might see the dinar appreciate slightly over time. The same goes for Vietnam, which has seen steady economic growth for the past decade. However, don't expect massive jumps overnight. Currency reevaluations, when they happen, are typically slow, managed processes, especially for countries that have had fixed or managed exchange regimes for years. Some of you are watching this video because you're hoping for a massive revaluation where the dinar or dong suddenly shoots up in value. While that's a hot topic in forums and among speculators, you must remember that any significant change in a nation's currency value would have enormous ripple effects on the local economy, inflation, export competitiveness, and debt obligations. That's why central banks approach such changes with extreme caution. So yes, monitor the rates daily, but also stay grounded in the economic realities behind them. For those of you who want to take your rate checking to the next level, consider using Google Alerts to receive daily summaries of news articles related to the IQD or VND. Set up alerts with keywords like Iraq's central bank dinar, Vietnam Dong exchange rate, or Iraqi Dinar revaluation 2025. This can help you connect the dots between geopolitical developments and rate fluctuations. If you read an article about new IMF loans to Iraq or Vietnam signing a trade pact, and then notice a currency shift the same day you've just built your own understanding of currency behavior, that kind of insight is more valuable than any rumor or unverified social media post. Another advanced tip is using economic calendars. Websites like investing.com or Forex Factory offer free economic calendars that list major economic events and data releases for countries worldwide. If Iraq is releasing GDP data on a Monday, or the Vietnamese central bank is scheduled to make a statement on interest rates, you'll know in advance. These are moments when rates can fluctuate sharply, and being prepared gives you a strategic edge. Let me also quickly address a common question I get. What is the best time of day to check currency rates? While Forex markets operate 24/5, peak volatility often occurs during overlap sessions when both the European and US markets are open, typically from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. EST. During these hours, liquidity is highest, and you're more likely to see significant movement. However, for currencies like the dinar and dong that are not freely traded on major Forex markets, you'll often see more stability than volatility. Still, it's useful to know that news drops and policy changes often coincide with market openings. Now, for those of you who are really serious about tracking changes, consider keeping a currency journal. Each day, write down the rate you see for IQD and VND, along with any news headlines, government statements, or economic reports released that day. Over time, you'll start seeing patterns like how oil prices affect the dinar, or how exports data influences the dong. You'll become your own expert, not just relying on others but developing your personal database of insights. That's how professionals do it. Let's wrap this tutorial by circling back to why we do all this. Why bother tracking rates, reading news, setting alerts, or using apps? Because knowledge is power. When you understand how currencies move, when you know what to watch for, and when you can separate